This is CBC Here and Now.
Waiting for primary care. A St. John's family says it's been waiting 4 months to get into a collaborative team clinic.
We're all in a situation where we just don't feel that we have access to adequate healthcare.
Coming up on Here and Now.
More needs to be done to shorten waiting lists for mental health services in the province, say advocates and patients.
If you know that you have to wait to get help, you lose that resolve.
That's just ahead.
Next system moves in tonight, going to bring some freezing rain to parts of the province.
There's less help available for survivors of sexual exploitation in Newfoundland and Labrador.
We can't leave young victims and survivors kind of flailing in the community.
I'm Daryl Roberts. Find out why one group is looking to the provincial government for help. Coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. Tonight, another patient is speaking out about her troubles with the new collaborative team clinics.
A St. John's woman says her family registered with a collaborative team clinic after losing their family doctor earlier this year, but 4 months later, she has yet to step inside of one. Eastern Health, meanwhile, says be patient. These clinics are still new. Here Now's Mark Quinn explains.
We just don't feel that we have access to adequate healthcare.
Amelia Hickey and 5 members of her family have been without a physician since January. That's when their family doctor closed their practice and joined one of Eastern Health's new collaborative team clinics. Hickey registered with the new clinics, but she and her family are still waiting to meet their new primary care providers.
Minister Haggie said back on April 20th that the clinics weren't full. But if they're not full, why is it I've been waiting for 4 months to be even contacted? I don't even know anything about the clinics at this point other than the fact that I'm registered for them.
There are 3 collaborative team clinics operating in St. John's, one at 7 Pippi Place, another one near Mundy Pond at 50 Mundy Pond Road, and a third one here at 1144 Topsail Road. Hickey doesn't know which one will be hers yet, so right now her options are limited.
If I have a medical issue that isn't an emergency, I either have to end up going to the emergency room and tying up that place for people who are actually having a medical emergency, or I have to go to a walk-in clinic, which is hard to coordinate when you're working full-time.
Eastern Health's Regional Director of Primary Care says she understands why Hickey is anxious, but she's asking people like Hickey to give the clinics more time.
We are absolutely hearing the public. We are working our way through that list. Since December, over 11,000 individuals have registered on Patient Connect. And so it does take time. They are new clinics. And so while they're exciting and it's certainly the way that we're headed in the future, we do need time to work our way through those lists and to get in contact with folks.
The association that represents physicians in this province says 100,000 people in Newfoundland and Labrador don't have a family doctor. The clinics in St. John's are expected to accommodate about 20,000 patients, and there are announcements coming for clinics in Central, Western and Labrador. If those clinics can accommodate another 20,000 patients, that still leaves 60,000 people in this province without a family doctor. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
The province's official opposition is speaking out about delays at long-term care facilities in Central. A month ago, the Premier and Health Minister attended ribbon-cutting ceremonies in Gander and Grand Falls, Windsor. The events marked the completion of 2 new 60-bed long-term care homes, but the PCs say seniors and their families are still left in limbo, waiting to be placed, and the party is calling last month's presentation smoke and mirrors.
It's almost like an alternate universe. Like, what are we really dealing with? If the building's not ready, why go out and have a ribbon cutting? Why announce to the public that you're opening these buildings? And that's what it stated, the opening of the buildings. So your families that are waiting to get in there, loved ones are in hospitals, people are in the waiting rooms, on the hallways. There's a sense of optimism there that their loved ones are going to get in there. It's going to be free up space for them to get in a room and get the proper medical care. Yet, that's not happened. So where we are, we're going to be looking at, that was March 28, I believe. We could be looking at May 28 or even June.
Barry Petton also says the delay is due to hot water issues. Water in the showers isn't draining properly, as well as other safety issues related to elevators and ventilation. But Petton says those issues were flagged a year ago, so he doesn't understand the delay.
We finally saw some sunshine today for a good chunk of eastern Newfoundland after a bunch of gray skies. The reason for that, this ridge of high pressure, but this area of low pressure is going to move in as we head through the night tonight there. So look at that cloud cover. We can already see some of that cloud cover moving in right ahead of that. And if we zoom out a little bit more, you can see the temperatures. So right now, temperatures in the green, that's around 0 or above 0. And that's going to play a role. These are the upper level temperatures as to what's going to happen tonight. A good freezing rain set up as some of that colder air starts to move in below at the surface. So the northern peninsula and along the strait, you are under a freezing rain warning. And just to show you what's going to happen, it will move in as rain tonight and then eventually transition through to that freezing rain into the overnight hours as that temperature drops. Some areas could see upwards of about 5 to 10 millimeters. And then as we head into the afternoon tomorrow, that colder air will eventually move back in the evening hours, and we could see some more freezing rain, but I'll have the full forecast when I come back.
Oh, it's doing the turn.
It's doing the turn. So there you go.
Buckle up and take a ride in a fully self-driving car, one of the first to hit the streets in Canada. How does it handle the weird and winding roads of downtown St. John's?
Now this is a pretty tangly intersection we're coming to now.
This one is not fun.
Well, turning now to some news about COVID. 5 more people in Newfoundland and Labrador have died since Monday's update. That brings the province's total number of deaths up to 162 since the start of the pandemic. The number of people in hospital, though, is down. It's the lowest level we've seen since early last month. 17 people in hospital, 5 of them are in critical care.
A program which supports young people leaving the sex trade has been forced to downsize. After federal funding dried up, the province didn't pick up the slack. The executive director of the program says without funding, there's a gap in support for survivors of sexual exploitation. Here now's Daryl Roberts has more.
The building behind me houses the Blue Door program at Thrive. It's designed to help young people trying to exit the sex trade access the support they need. About 50 people were using the program, but now that number is way down. That's because they can't find funding.
We can't leave victims and survivors kind of flailing in the community and trying to find the supports and services. So I think it's a matter of priority.
Ottawa began funding the Blue Door program 5 years ago, but the funding ended in February. The executive director has asked the provincial government to step in. The program needs $400,000 in annual funding to offer full programming. It's had to lay off 3 of its 5 staff members and transition clients to other community groups.
Blue Door really did fill a gap in service around that one-stop shop, full wraparound supports for people who had a shared experience around engagement in the sex trade.
The lack of funding is gaining attention. One group has started a petition. It's gotten more than 25,000 signatures.
And I think it really goes to show that people think the Blue Door program is essential and they don't want it to close.
Women and Gender Equality Minister Pam Parsons says her department doesn't have the money, but says she's willing to work with Thrive to find some. Thrive's executive director is hoping that's the case.
While one government department may not have the funding to be able to fully fund that program, I do think the provincial government has an ethical obligation to support people who have this experience.
There's funding for the program for the next year. That's thanks to private donors and a little left over from the federal government. But there's no guarantees after that. Daryl Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the demand for free mental health counseling has one St. John's organization shutting down its waiting list. The Jacob Pudister Memorial Foundation offers support for those aged between 12 and 35. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm has that story.
For many people in St. John's needing mental health care, the Jacob Pudister Memorial Foundation steps up much faster than public health.
It was a lot shorter of a wait list than I have seen before. I believe when I was going through the Eastern Health process, I think it was like 6 months or something before I actually got in to speak to somebody. I mean, in that time, the thing that you applied for could be kind of in the background and something new has come up.
But in early March, the foundation temporarily closed its waitlist due to high demand and doesn't take on new clients. In a statement, it said, "In the last months, we have been averaging about 4 requests for services per day, and our current waitlist has 200 folks waiting. We do not want anyone to feel like they are on an impossibly long waitlist with no idea of when they will be seen by a therapist."
You were excited to kind of reapply and go back, and then it's closed. It is really disappointing.
Muse was able to have 20 sessions with the same therapist. That continuity of care and shorter wait times are what the mental health care system is lacking, says this advocate.
Wait times, I know for me, it's a really big deal because if you know that you have to wait to get help, you lose that resolve. And quite frankly, when it comes to mental illnesses, you don't have time. You get sicker, or worse, you can die.
Cindy Hall has been waiting 4 months to see an Eastern Health psychiatrist after being sent to the Waterford Hospital emergency by her family doctor last December.
He knew I needed help kind of a little quickly and also knew what the system was going to be like. So he figured if he got me to voluntarily go down to speak to someone, I'd probably get on a wait list.
At the end of January, she received a letter prompting her to confirm her spot on the waiting list.
I know someone close to me who has been on the wait list since 2018 and just assumed they've been waiting and never did get a letter. So I don't know if it just didn't arrive in the mail or if it was lost.
According to Eastern Health, the wait for urgent psychiatric services is 30 days. For non-urgent services, 1 to 10 months. For psychological services, the wait time is between 3 weeks and 19 months. For now, Muse has accepted to wait.
I would rather continue with the therapist that I've grown to feel comfortable with. So I'm just going to wait it out.
According to the foundation, it has hired 2 new counselors to help with the demand, and it's hoping to open the waitlist back up in the next few months. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
The Association for New Canadians is helping newcomers cope through creativity. The Journey of Hope program promotes mental health and self-care in young people through art projects. Today, the ANC showcased some of those creations.
Marriage, yes, marriage, yes.
The program is a 10-week program, and we come and meet weekly, and we discuss different resiliency factors, and we create these beautiful works of art about them. And then we share those works of art with other newcomers, and this creates this community and this sense of support.
I'm from Afghanistan, and I moved here from Afghanistan 2 years ago. I decided to create my future and make a better future for me and my kids, and I'm really happy to made this transition and decided to live here. I actually first heard about this program from ANC, from social media, and it really sounded interesting to me. My Journey of Hope, it really attracted me, and I really consider this program as self-care. Whoever thinks about their mental health and well-being should join this program.
When it started as a youth advisory committee that was catered towards newcomer youth and challenges that they face in Canada. It was great because it focused on youth mental health and coping mechanism, and it was a safe space where we could talk about challenges that we face in our families. Sometimes mental health can be stigmatized in Middle Eastern or basically Iranian cultures. So that was a safe space for us to be able to talk about it and bring our thoughts and processes to the table and cope together.
Yeah, so it's very healing from their past, and it also is part of Future Launch because it prepares them for their futures. It highlights those strengths, those factors that help them through stressful time as they move into their futures as well.
You will get a chance to express your feelings with colors and create your own pieces of art and somehow relate them to your memories, to your loved ones, and all those things that you value in your life.
It is true, when you go through trauma or you're suffering with mental health issues, it is always great to put it into physical form so that you can reflect on it. So I believe that's why it's super effective.
I reached to a point where I told myself that no matter where I come from, I can be whoever I want to be, because there are still people that support me and care about me.
Also at the event, the ANC recognized contributions made by the Royal Bank Foundation. To date, the bank has donated $170,000 to the program.
The RCMP has a new commanding officer, Assistant Commissioner Jennifer Ebert. Ebert was most recently posted in Prince Edward Island, where she held the same position. In a news release, the RCMP says her 25-year career in policing includes major crime, intimate partner violence, as well as professional standards, among other areas. Ebert started in her new role on Monday. Well, self-driving cars have been rolling out in more and more places in Canada, but most cities are carefully designed with tidy, grid-like, orderly street patterns.
Yes, so what happens when a self-driving car tries to navigate downtown St. John's? That's what Joshua Green is testing every time he takes a ride in his fully self-driving Tesla.
Here now, Zach Gowdy jumped in to check it out.
So now we're in autopilot mode, and so I'm going to keep my hands close to the wheel. And my foot is kind of next to the brake in case I need to take over, but the car is fully self-driving itself right now.
Oh, it's doing the turn.
It's doing the turn. So there you go.
Wow.
So now coming down to a stop sign. So this is totally the car. I'm just supervising.
Joshua Green is used to being in the driver's seat in his job as CEO of Misa, a booming tech company in St. John's. But for the past few weeks, he's been a passenger in his own car, a Tesla Model Y.
Yeah, so this full self-driving software has been in the United States now for about 6 months, but just recently it came to Canada. So there's about 1,000 testers now in Canada of this software.
Tesla calls the software FSD, full self-driving, and it means what it sounds like.
Yeah, so all we got to do here is on the map is pick a destination that we want to go to, and then the car will drive us there. So let's pick the Mary Brown Center, right out front of the Mary Brown Center. And so I'll just click navigate there.
Car's in control.
Car's in control. Although I'm gonna have to take over again because it got in the wrong lane. So this is one of the challenges that it has right now. Sometimes it gets into the wrong lane, and so you just need to fix that, and then I'll put it back into autopilot, and then I'll just help it along.
It has a few kinks, but that's the point of the beta test. The driving data from Green and all the other testers is being fed back to Tesla to refine and improve the software.
Now this is a pretty tangly intersection we're coming to now.
This one is not fun.
It's one thing to navigate the grid-like streets of most cities, but how does it handle the weird, winding, centuries-old streets of downtown St. John's?
So there's a lot of yielding going on. Need to turn left here. And then it's got to take an immediate right-hand turn. So it's a quick maneuver here after this left-hand turn.
Gets over. Wow, it nailed that one.
Yeah.
Cornering isn't its only move.
Did it do that automatically?
It actually cleans the wiper automatically. So there's a camera up here, and the camera always needs to be clean. So the car will automatically just wipe and clean the windshield when it needs to for visibility. So this is a situation where there's a biker coming up, and he's actually displayed here right on the screen. So if you notice, it slowed down and yielded to the bicycle. So to give the bicycler lots of room, which is really important. It's super cautious and conservative around pedestrians and bicycle, as it should be.
Green qualified as a beta tester because of his own cautious and conservative driving record, a record Tesla could analyze based on the time he's already spent behind the wheel of his Model Y. But Green says he feels just as safe now that the car is driving for him.
I think people should think of it as no different as if I was actually driving the car. I've got my hands on the wheel, my foot next to the brake, and so if there was anything to occur, I'm ready and willing to take over as soon as I need to. So the car knows that it's clear and makes the turn.
Zach Gowdy, CBC News, St. John's.
That's Pretty neat.
Wow.
And
Yep.
Anthony, you got to try one of those out too. What did you think?
Yep. Very similar model of the Tesla. It takes a lot of getting used to and kind of a leap of faith to just let go of the wheel. I think there's a country and western song, isn't there, about that? But
yeah.
It takes a while, but it's nice to see that the vehicle actually makes room for cyclists, which is good. But it takes a lot of getting used to.
Yeah, I
but
wonder what it would be like in the snow too.
There's that. Yeah.
Take a look at this. This is a iceberg off of Island Harbor, Fogo Island. Our Garrett Berry recorded this video for us a little bit earlier today. Now, lots of icebergs out there. There's some iceberg weather as well. Unfortunately, some freezing rain on the way. I'll have the full details coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Early bird deadline is midnight, Friday, May 6th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Walked out of the building this afternoon and I was like, oh, hello, son. It's very nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Yes, it's been a while,
Welcome back.
hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
unfortunately with that onshore flow, we've been seeing a lot of cloud cover around these parts, but different story today, which was nice. Let's take a look at what's going on out there right now. That cloud cover is moving in though for the west coast. You can see some of that green down to the south there. That's some rain that's moving in as we head through, or the rain will continue as we head through the night tonight. If we zoom out, you can see where that area of low pressure is as we speak. Now, what's going to happen with these temperatures is, we're hovering around 8 degrees this afternoon for St. John's, 12 in Gander. That was the nicest weather today. And those temperatures for the northern peninsula were above zero as well. 2 degrees in St. Anthony, up across Labrador. Pretty much the same thing, except along the coast where we're seeing that colder air, -4 for Nain, -4 for Makkovik right now as well. Now, if we take a look at what's happening right now, I'll just step out of the picture here a little bit. You can see that fog. Earlier, this picture was completely soaked in fog, but it is moving in and out. Temperatures right now sitting around 6 degrees in St. John. So that fog is expected to move right back in as we head through the evening hours tonight and through a good chunk of the overnight. And then as we head through the day tomorrow, again, that fog will eventually retreat back to the coast. But it does look like we should see more fog for the northern peninsula as well as parts of Labrador. So right now those temperatures are hovering still around 12 degrees in Gander. That's pretty nice. Temperatures though now have dropped across the Big Land back down below zero, and we're going to continue to see those temperatures drop as we head through the night tonight for particularly the northern peninsula, where you'll be hovering around the 0 degree mark. The majority of the island, or I should say the rest of the island, should be a little bit above zero, and then dropping down for St. John's down to about -1 tonight under light winds and clear skies for the most part. Up across Labrador, your temperatures are going to stay well below zero through the overnight. -12 will be the cold spot in Lab City. So these temperatures, the surface temperatures anyway, are going to lead to that freezing rain. So freezing rain warnings in place right now for the northern peninsula along the strait as well. And we're looking at some areas could see some pretty significant rainfall or freezing rain amounts. We're talking somewhere between 5 to 10 millimeters falling tonight, and then into at least the first half of tomorrow as this system moves in. So that rain will continue to track a little bit further north as we head through the night tonight. That colder air to the north is going to keep most of that precipitation across Labrador as snow through the overnight tonight. And then once that cold air starts to dip a little bit further south, that's when we should start to see that freezing rain potential. Now, the rest of the island should stay as rain through the overnight, at least the western half of the island. There's not a whole lot happening as we head even through the first half of tomorrow. For the eastern half of the island, we should actually see some sunshine, but most of the action will be up as far as snowfall amounts go up for Labrador, and then continue through a good chunk of the afternoon tomorrow. Eventually, we'll start to see some showers for the southern areas of the island as we get into the overnight. Then those temperatures drop. Then we're talking about the potential for some snow again for parts of Labrador, parts of the island. So as far as snowfall amounts go, this takes us through to Thursday mid-afternoon, or early afternoon, I should say. We're looking at about 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. This will continue through the day on Friday even, so these amounts could be much more significant at this, but it does look like about 10 to 15 centimeters is a good bet by the time we get to Friday. So as far as temperatures go for tomorrow, it is looking pretty nice. Those winds again out of the northeast though, about 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees further inland areas. You will see those temperatures a bit warmer. Eventually, temperatures should reach about 11 to 13 degrees through central, and then Harbour Breton, you'll see that rain move in into the evening hours, but it will be a generally unsettled day on the west coast between 4 to 7 degrees. Again, showers for a good chunk of the afternoon as that temperature jumps above zero for the northern peninsula, and snow the story for Labrador. Now, the rest of the forecast looking pretty unsettled as well. I'll have those details coming up.
What ways are you going to help mitigate the loss of available food for hunting families?
The federal government has put in place a number of programs to help northern communities have access to food.
Next on Here and Now, how climate change is affecting coastal and northern Labrador.
More of your questions put to the federal environment minister.
Our Thin Ice series continues. We're examining the impact of climate change on Newfoundland and Labrador. Federal Environment Minister Stephen Gilbeau is our guest, taking questions from Northern Labrador. We want to look at the impact from food to transportation to mental health. Climate change isn't just a story about the environment. Our next question is about how people will heat their homes.
Hi, my name is James Tutuk. I'm from Hopedale, Nunavut, Labrador. You know, our primary source of heat here up in Nunavut anyway is wood, but with the global warming, the weather is very unpredictable. We had a really mild year and we can't get no wood, so some of our electrical bills have gone sky high. My question is, will the federal government step in and help with a better subsidy or a better price for our electricity rates?
Okay, so concern about getting access to wood and about the high cost of electricity in northern communities. Mr. Gilbeau, how do you address those concerns?
There's a number of things we're doing to address those concerns. We're in the process of modernizing the building code in Canada to ensure that new buildings are much more efficient from an energy point of view. Even in cold climate, we can build buildings that require almost no heat. And they're doing it in Sweden, and they're doing it in other northern countries. So that's one thing we're doing. We're investing massively in a large retrofit program so that existing buildings across the country are retrofitted to be more energy efficient, which is good for the environment, but it's also good for people because they get to pay less on their energy bill. And the third thing we're doing specifically for northern communities is working to help them reduce their dependency on diesel generated electricity, which is the case in most northern communities, by investing with them in hybrid projects where you will couple your diesel generator with wind turbines or solar panels, which will help reduce the amount of diesel that is consumed. Diesel, obviously, that has to be shipped north is very expensive. We've also signed an agreement with the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, a $5 billion agreement about a month and a half ago to help, especially with electricity prices because of the Muskrat Falls project that created a pressure on electricity prices in Newfoundland and Labrador. So the federal government stepped in to help the people of Newfoundland and Labrador to absorb some of the cost of the increase in cost of electricity production.
So it's not just access to heating. Food is also a concern with climate change. Here's a question from Nain.
Hi, I'm Caroline Nukasak from Nain, Nunavut in Labrador. My question is, the rapidly decreasing sea ice is shortening the hunting season for Inuit. This greatly affects our food availability and our cultural traditions. What ways are you going to help mitigate the loss of available food for hunting families? And how are you going to ensure these measures are effective? Nakumnik.
Okay, so it's harder to get out on the land. It's harder to get access to some of those traditional foods. How do you deal with that problem of climate change?
That is a difficult challenge because obviously we can't, if we act quickly enough, we can mitigate the loss of sea ice, but it will take a long time for sea ice to come back, if ever, to its level of the previous decades. So the federal government has put in place a number of programs to help northern communities have access to food that is healthy and nutritious for communities, but unfortunately I can understand those who would say that this is no compensation for the impacts on the traditional way of life and on hunting and fishing, and that is one of the many tragedies of climate change.
It may make it more affordable, but I don't know if you've been in a store in a northern community. It's still much more expensive than it is in Montreal, St. John's, and more urban centers. So, especially when you're losing access to this resource and now you have to pay at prices that are still higher than those of us in the South pay.
I have been in some stores in the north. I've seen that firsthand. You're right, which is why we're putting more money into these programs. And then there's a number of these programs in a couple of different the ministries, Northern Affairs, Indigenous Services, to ensure that we can compensate for the increase in price. And I'm not saying that the programs are keeping up necessarily, but I think we're getting there.
Now, living through climate change takes a personal toll for some people. Here's our final question.
Hi, my name is Samantha Saksiak. I'm here from Newfoundland and Labrador, and I go to school here at Selfdriving. My question for you is, climate change can affect mental health through direct and indirect exposure, such as watching a disaster unfold from afar or reading a scientific report. The rate of mental health issues in Labrador are already alarmingly high. Has there been any consideration of the long-term effects of climate change on mental health and well-being?
Okay, so concerns there about mental health. Minister, how do you respond to that?
Well, mental health is certainly a growing concern for the federal government. We have now a minister that is dedicated to this issue, Minister Bennett, who just happens to be a doctor and who is arguably one of the members of Parliament who has spent most of her political career working with Indigenous people, Métis and Inuits. And in fact, as part of the renegotiation of the health agreement with provinces and territories, we've put on the table that provinces and territories, as part of the transfers from the federal government, need to invest more in mental health. Number one. Number two, are we aware of the long-term mental impacts of climate change? I think the honest answer is no, because we've collectively only recently started studying the impacts of climate change on human health, on mental health, on ecosystems. We only have a few decades of body of evidence, and mental health has only been studied more recently. So we don't know what these impacts will be, but we have started investing into research to better understand what those impacts could be or what they will be.
Well, Minister, I appreciate you joining me and answering some of those questions from people in Labrador.
Thank you very much, Peter.
This used to be a breadbasket or a food hub for the province. The train came through here, picked up crops, and took them right across.
These farmers are going back to the basics.
Sustainable farming in the Codroy Valley. That's ahead on Habitats. Well, this week on Habitats, host Andy Bullman heads to the West Coast for a tour of an off-the-grid farm.
Yeah, Tuckaway Farm is nestled in the beautiful Caudroy Valley, and one of the owners has a personal mission to one day provide enough food to feed the entire region.
And it's not just meat and produce. Tuckaway Farm also produces its own honey, natural dyed wools, and skincare, and they use local ingredients to do it.
We practice regenerative agriculture and permaculture, giving back to the community, ecological practices, little bites of a lot of things so that it's a diverse production but diverse life. Like everything from the bees to the birds to the pigs up the hill, from cut flowers to body care to honey to produce to meat and eggs, to hand-woven and naturally dyed textiles to carved wooden spoons. A little bit of all kinds of things means we're never bored. We have lots to offer, and there's no like lagging season. There's no thin and hungry February because there's always something. Yeah. You can make any color with natural dyes. Like, it's not limited.
The colors are so much brighter than I thought.
Yeah,
Can
exactly.
I just like point to one and you tell me how you made the color?
Yeah.
This like mustard yellowy orange. How did you get that?
That one's turmeric.
Cool.
Mm.
And this like seafoam green guy?
That is probably welds with Saxon blue over top. That looks like madder root. There's a fiddle or bow maker near the wool mill that I work with, and he uses Pernambuco in his bows and
Like violin bow?
yeah.
Wow.
And Pernambuco, it's really rare. You're not allowed to export it or import it anywhere now. But he had this backstash from being a bow maker for 50 years. And so he saves all of his shavings and gives them to us. And then it's so precious that we extract it like 10 times. But that's where that comes from, is Pernambuco. Environmental Farm Plan is a collaboration between the Canadian Agricultural Partnership and the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, so that you can operate your farm and plan your expansions in a sustainable, ecologically more friendly way. We don't use pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, anything anyway, but the farm plan, they walk you through every step of your operations in order to make best practice. We're going to extract that pigment in really cold water to apply blue, the color blue, to a protein fiber, and we're going to use silk today, but it can also be used with wool. And this method of using color from indigo is easier on a protein source because the bath isn't as alkaline.
Is the goal complete food security for the Caudroy Valley, and is that possible?
That's my personal goal. I don't know, I don't know. We'll take that as far as we can. The valley has a long agricultural history. This used to be a breadbasket or a food hub for the province. The train came through here, picked up crops, and took them right across. I see the valley as being able to fill that niche because of the microclimate here and being able to produce and grow things that would require immensely more effort and therefore resources elsewhere on the island. So I see the valley becoming kind of a sustainable in food, because we already have a lot of livestock. We have a fish plant up the road that employs locals, and then in terms of the vegetable side, yeah, we can grow anything.
Well, New Brunswick youth are hitting back after a car company painted young musicians in a not-so-favorable light.
Yeah, the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra has posted a poignant response to a new commercial for Nissan. They're also offering up their services. Just take a look.
You know, I saw the ad and in my own way, I thought, like many of the comments that I received, it's too bad that's the message that is conveyed when there's so much positive we could say about youth and talent and performance excellence,
Introducing the all-new Infiniti QX60. Take on life in style.
You know, it struck a negative chord with me as well, and then I began to get a lot of this feedback from others, and it just seemed like this was the right thing to do. I consulted with a number of friends and colleagues, and then struck on this idea.
Have you seen the new Nissan Infiniti ad? Can you imagine? A big company like that couldn't find a youth orchestra to play the music. They should have called us, the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra.
I think the first thing for us to say is we're not against Nissan and Infiniti, not in any way. We wanted to respond in a fun and humorous way. You know, we understand the ad itself is tongue-in-cheek, and we thought that was maybe a good way for us to respond in turn. Even though it's tongue-in-cheek, there's still this tired old stereotype of youth and bad music. And so our message here is that our kids have amazing talent. So there's just so much to celebrate. That's the message that we want to convey. And look, by the way, Nissan Infiniti, we're here. We're here. If you need a youth orchestra, come and see us.
In our experience, all kids have talent and can shine on any stage, anywhere.
Oh, I love that.
Great response.
Great response. That commercial did make me chuckle, though, when the windows were going up. So it did make me chuckle, but really, really funny. Really good.
Very nice.
Anyways, look at the long-range forecast now. I keep looking over here because I can see the weather screen over there. So what's coming?
Well, we've got an unsettled pattern as we've been seeing for a little bit this week. It's going to continue as we get through the weekend. Let's take a look at what's going on. The ridge of high pressure that is just to the west of us is going to move a little bit further north, and generally we're going to see an area of low pressure to the south. So if you want to take a look at that right now, there we go. Thought we were going to go to this a little earlier. There's that ridge of high pressure there, and the low to the north. So that's the pattern this weekend, and that keeps us in onshore flow and unsettled for the most part. Now, if that ridge of high pressure is basically going to act like a block, and as we get into even Monday and Tuesday, it's going to be a while before that system moves off. So unfortunately, it will be unsettled with some of that onshore, or some of those cooler temperatures continuing for some areas. So that will certainly be the story as we head into Friday. Temperatures will be around 5 to 6 degrees, 7 degrees across the island, except for the northern peninsula, where you'll see your temperatures hovering around 2 degrees. So we're still looking at the potential for some flurries in the forecast for you. They may sink as far south as Corner Brook as we get through the day on Friday. Across Labrador, you're looking at those temperatures hovering around the 0 degree mark. And for Happy Valley, Goose Bay and Lab City, you'll be sitting around -2. So Friday should actually just be cloudy for the most part for St. John's, but then Friday evening, as that system continues to retrograde, which just means it's moving backwards, it's going to bring another round of showers in for Saturday morning. And that will pretty much be the story across the board, with that snow continuing up across Labrador. Now, we may see a few showers in the mix just because temperatures will be a bit warmer, but likely all snow for central areas of Labrador as well as coastal areas. To the southeast, though, this should be all rain for you. That's just because temperatures will be significantly warmer. That push of moisture will continue to work its way further west. Temperatures again on Saturday should be in the single digits, mid-single digits for most of us. A little bit warmer for the northern peninsula, but again, you're still looking at that potential for a few flurries in the mix. Accumulations for snowfall totals look pretty significant from now through to Saturday for parts of the Big Land. We're talking maybe 20 to 30 centimeters of snow in some cases, but it will be very wet and it'll fall over a long period of time. So temperatures may reach the double digits, it looks like, on Sunday because the sun will peak out. So I put put it in there anyway. 10 degrees. Monday's looking at a temperature near 8 for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. Then for central, I haven't quite got you there yet, but you're looking at 9 degrees with some sunshine. And then Monday, that rain returns. Unfortunately, those gray skies will continue for western Newfoundland. Now for eastern Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures above 0, staying unsettled, but some sunshine in the forecast for Lab West. Take a look at this shot. Doesn't get better than this, does it? Perfect place to sit, Mark. Great shots, always. Bonavista. Thank you for that. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Fantastic. That's the second iceberg we had on the show.
Yes, it is. Different iceberg, though.
You just want to take a seat and take it all in.
It doesn't really get better than that. Nice blue skies today, too.
Gorgeous. Love it.
So have you two managed to get your taxes done yet?
No. Yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Well, tomorrow on Here and Now, we hope to have some news you can use. There's some advice for you about how you can get them because the deadline's approaching. So stay tuned for that.
Interesting.
Taxes, yeah.
Fun
Part of being
topic.
an adult.
Thanks a lot for watching.
Good night.
Good night.